Alright, so in today's video, I got the Platinum Trophy on Space Marines 2 or Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 if you want to be completely accurate, because Space Marine 2 is a part of the massive Warhammer universe. Now, in my very long gaming career, I have never once played, bought, or really watched a game in the Warhammer universe. In fact, there was only two things I knew about this game series before starting the Platinum today. One was that Henry Cavill, or Superman, is a Warhammer 40,000 fan, and two, that this game is coming to PS Plus monthly games next month, which is the reason I chose to do it today. A little head start on the curve, if you will. I also did nail a top 50 fastest time to complete, and that time is estimated at 60 hours. FYI, if you go for this Platinum, it will not take that long. I think that is an estimate from the game's initial release date back in 2024, but nowadays there is much more content and easier methods to some trophies in particular. But before I get ahead of myself, the game contains 50 total trophies with the Platinum. Nothing is inherently missable because you can replay anything, but there is a collectible trophy for data slates that you should go for as you play, and that's really about it. So, starting off with stage 1 of the game, being to just complete the story while, as I just said, grabbing all of those data slate collectibles. You don't have to play on any certain difficulty for this game, so I just threw it on easy so I could experience it the easiest way. But this game's plot picks up after the previous game, which I have no clue what happened. You know, classic Its Illusion, playing games in the entire wrong order. But the plot for this one surrounds Titus, the main character, and his transition into a Primaris Space Marine. Because previously we were just a part of the Death's Watch, which is, like, as far as I understand, a sort of eternal service for something we did in the past. I honestly don't really know, so correct me in the comments down below, please. But the intro level was very cool, and you just get introduced into the multiple mechanics of this game before it ultimately leads us into a big boy boss fight against the infamous Carnifex. Now, while playing, I should have realized this was a story fight and that you can't win because my screen had literally zero UI on it. Maybe a bit of a low chromosome interaction. But yeah, in this fight, you literally can't win. Trust me, I tried my damnedest and I went after this thing relentlessly, until eventually I did slip up once and then the thing just ruined me. However, some piss dribble from God himself comes down to save us, I guess. Long story short, we were on the brink of death, and the Primaris Space Marines decided to make Titus undergo the Rubicon Primaris surgery, which I guess just transforms us into a goddamn super soldier. This is literally just Captain America's plot. Shout out to the GOAT. That's what I'm saying. But after all of that surgery finished up, we got the first trophy of the day called The Die is Cast from Rising as a Primaris. The game then does a lot of explaining as to what just happened. We also get appointed as squad leader for a group of 3 bad boys on the hunt for alien extinction. Oh yeah, I should have already said this, but the world we are in is just full of hostile aliens trying to exterminate humanity, so that's pretty cool. But you basically just have these intermission scenes between each major story mission, expanding upon the lore every single time. However, the first real mission of the game was called Operation Skyfire, and there were 6 of these missions in total for the story, with the final one being called Dawn's Descent, and also being composed of kind of like 2 missions in one. So this first mission was all about us just giving assistance to the planet nearby that was undergoing a siege and couldn't get off the planet without dying from the overwhelming alien force that was at hand. And while assisting them, I also did get my first combat trophy of many in this game, called Field of Battle, from killing 100 enemies using environmental hazards. And these vary, but mostly it's just explosive canisters around combat areas that then blow up and for the most part annihilate anything in the nearby vicinity. But that was the only trophy I got during this. The next one I got was just from finishing the level. There wasn't any, major boss fight at all, but the fighting did get very cool and intense. We also saw the first of many horror moments where the aliens just pile up trying to reach us. Very sexy indeed. But then it just ends with us on this platform going from antenna to power up a giant gun, which then goes off after success and destroys the enemy force at hand, fading to black and then popping the trophy with the finish of level 1. And I actually did unfortunately have to replay that level after doing it because I kind of scuffed up and I missed a collectible, and it was also the last one, so I had to replay most of the level. But after replaying it, I wouldn't make that mistake again. And while in the midst of my replay, I got a random combat trophy from killing 100 enemies using Righteous Fury, which isn't the name of a dollar store lube that will give you a wicked rash, but rather just the ultimate ability you get in the beginning of the game. Pretty straightforward trophy, and here it is popping. But back at it with the second level being called Operation Severance, yes, like the show. This time our job was very, very different, and we were assigned to track down some pretty weird and very sus scientists deep down within alien hoarded territory. And this also will be the first hint at this game's main villain, antagonist, plot, etc. But quite literally, you just play through the level, take this very confusing and combat-filled path we chose to get there. You also do get to use jetpacks for the first time, which was awesome. I'm literally coming right now. I didn't get any trophies throughout, however, and at the very end of the level, a lot of lore got dumped on us, mostly hinting at this artifact of sorts that we found that sent Titus, the guy we play as, into agony. I don't know if we should be bringing that back to the crib, but hey, it's the Emperor's wishes, and as a brother, we must follow whatever the Emperor commands. Yeah, this is like slavery, but here's the trophy popping for level 2. So we're on level 3 because if you pass kindergarten math, that's how it works. But level 3 was called Operation Machinis Divintus, which translates directly from Latin to like and subscribe to Its Ilusion. Oh my god, no way, holy shit. Anyways, this operation's plot was a bit related to the previous one, but seeing as in the final cutscene of level 2 we saw the scientist we were after die on a spike, we gotta replace him. So the directive is to rescue another scientist who can do his work for him since he's now dead. And this dude just so happened to be buried inside of some mechanic facility. Our goal was actually to just find his location, however, to get him. Sorry, that took like 500 words to explain. I'm an idiot. So we just needed to find his location because this was the last place he was seen at. But the level itself was again just more really fun combat, doing whatever little puzzle or goal we had to in order to avoid being deatomized by some alien or other technology. I really can't explain how fun this game's combat is. You genuinely just gotta try it. No, I'm not sponsored. Warhammer 40,000 would never sponsor such a devoted, succulent individual as myself. But ultimately, we did find his location, and that's the level finished. Again, nothing crazy in particular happened, and no other trophies were attained as I played through it, besides the final trophy pop from the level's completion right here. But seeing as we do know where this guy is at now, the fourth operation, called Servant of the Machine, is where we were headed off to in order to save Shotty finally. And again, this level was very fun. Ultimately, you do a similar thing as the last few with just major combat. Death to the alien race, humanity is superior. Yes, I am a space racist, unlike your uncle, who was just a normal racist. Anyways, this level, despite it being the most simple and fast, did expose a lot about the game's villain. In fact, it just showed us who it is, the Heretics. These are like alternate versions of the Space Marines and humans who are devoted to purely evil and heresy. They look like us, have the same tools as us, but are just pure evil, all serving the big bad guy, who I won't mention yet because it's a little secret. But yeah, these dudes are the real bad news, even worse than just endless alien scum. So you fight them a lot during the game, especially from this point on. But you basically just do that and then save the guy we were after finally. His name was John Roblox, by the way, which is sort of cool. Not sure why the devs named him that, but shout out to the elite ball knowledge. Speaking of ball knowledge, I have learned that I do not have an elite one. In fact, I have none of it. My bracket from March Madness is in complete shambles, and if Duke loses, I will end myself. Oh my god! Sorry for that rant, but 9% is just awful. And here's the fourth level trophy pop after we did save John Roblox. Also, he is very sus, which is a hint at the future for us. But then we did begin Operation 5, the second to last one in the game, called Void Song, and the counter on this website I'm using for graphics is wrong and retarded. IGN, you suck, low-key. But this operation's goal was to simply access a relay and send a message to Lord Calgar because he is like a super powerful good and the leader of us, I assume. But the issue here is that the aliens and heretics were completely icing out the relay, meaning nobody can send a message to the higher-ups, get a titty pic, even access ranked jerkmate in this state. And we desperately need to because the heretics are about to use that relic from earlier that we recovered and make it so nobody can ever use jerkmate again. If you understand what I mean. But god damn it, again, I didn't get any trophies throughout. What the hell, man? But again, the level just had a ton of fun fighting. We also did do the first real boss fight of the game, unless I skimmed over one on accident earlier, but it was against the infamous Carnifex, who previously ripped off Titus's tiny tip, and that was fun. But then we fought 3 at once, and that was even more fun. You then just see a cutscene ending off the operation, and it shows this holy person of sorts, I guess, that declares heresy, law and order, and apparently could tell if we are lying. This hoe then says that Titus is an evil traitor of the heretics, but the guy falls after our actual homie on the team just shoots her. And then we see that it was actually the game's main villain doing some mind tricks, being named Imura, or the sound I make after I cough up blood for the 5th time in one evening. You also get to fight him, which was very, very cool. I love big boy boss fights. God just smothering me in his tits. And it then ends off with a trophy popping and one more operation being knocked out. Back at home base, which is called the Battle Barge, by the way, we also converse with the chaplain, who is a very scary figure, and after he's done alluding to something mysterious like my ex-girlfriend would, turns out his name was Ethan. Who the fuck would fucking Ethan? But you get a trophy after the chaplain finishes off his yapping because he has quite literally exhausted all of his dialogue options, and that's pretty funny. But then we do begin the final slew of operations on Dawn's Descent. As I said earlier, this is a sort of two-parter, but it does end off the game, and I got quite a few trophies from that. Before we get ahead of ourselves, however, the goal is to just stop whatever is happening with the relic from earlier because it has chaos energy, which is like this uncontrolled source of power that just ruins everything it touches. The level for the most part was just the usual. However, you do fly in, which is very cool. You can get a trophy right here from smashing 10 times, but I don't because I am an idiot. However, the rest of the level, like I just said, was the usual. But you're also in space for a lot of it, which was pretty cool. And the level's entire direction just has us going deeper and deeper. The thing was, I was already all the way in. Sorry, I do have ball knowledge.
Where we were in action, and she said in my ear, "Go deeper. Stay with me now." And what hurt me is I was already all the way in. So I had ran out of PP.
Once we reach the bottom of the bottom, we see the scientist guy again. Also, there's a boss fight against a giant creation named a Hellbrute. Spelled hell wrong, you idiot. But then the scientist we saved just activated the relic, and yeah, he's cooked. It then brings Imra to life with all the power he needs, and he just teleports away, with our first of many trophies from the story popping on this level. But the following part was then a sort of intermission, actually, between the finale. You literally just wander around, kill a few aliens, heretics, etc., until a cutscene plays out showing a very, very badass cinematic of Lord Caligar from earlier, paving the way into the abyss to stop Imra. After doing so, another story trophy popped called Into the Abyss from Guess It, going into the abyss. Anyways, inside the abyss, it's just a giant boss fight against Imra the entire time. It lasts longer than I do, and damn, I'd rate it a 10 out of 10, baby. Ending off with a cinematic and Titus crawling his way to the relic in order to flip it over from evil world-ending side to good, happy world side. In turn, saving the day, ridding Imra of his jerkmate privileges, and popping us a story trophy from beating the game after various cutscenes tying up the story, at least kind of. So with that finished, it's officially stage 1 done. Now the next two stages both sort of tie together, or at least I sort of did them both while at once pretty much. With stage 2 being related to the 6 operations we need to now do, and stage 3 being the multiplayer section of this game. And when I say I did these two together, I just mean I got bored doing operations and I then played some multiplayer here and there. But the first trophies I got were just 2 cleanup trophies I wanted to do real fast. First being that trophy I just mentioned from hitting your face 10 times while skydropping, and it's called My Face is My Shield, a very, very funny trophy. But then secondly was called Silence from killing 5 enemies while they are calling in reinforcements. And I guess this was actually just a natural trophy because I did 4 other kills earlier, but the trophy popped right here, so GG. And that last trophy I got, I also did in the midst of the first operation in the list of 6 we need to do. Now since launch, the developers have added a few more, but the 6 operations that have trophies that we have to complete are called Inferno, Ballistic Engine, Decapitation, Vox Libertes, Reliquary, and Fall of Atreus. All of these are just tie-in missions featuring some very easy and some kind of hard missions that are during the main story flow. You're also technically supposed to do them as you do the main story, but I didn't, so yeah, take that, developers. But again, upon completing all of them, you get a trophy tied to what our objective was, with the first just being to stop a swarm of aliens. Very simple, and after that trophy popped, easy peasy. And during the second operation, I did also get another combat trophy from just killing 1,000 aliens in operations mode, and here's the trophy popping. Again, almost right after that, I got another combat trophy, which actually relates to one of the many class trophies in operations mode, which I also was grinding. There is one tied to each class, you know, some harder than others, but the tactical was the first one I did, from just killing 25 enemies with every primary weapon. And this is actually super easy to do, as you could imagine. Here's a trophy from it popping. But back to the operation at hand, the goal was to kill the Hive Tyrant, which in turn gave us a giant boss fight, and after finally winning, I did get the trophy and the operation completed. So during the following operation, I got a combat trophy during it from performing 50 unique unique finishers. A little confusing on how this does track, but if you just constantly do finishing moves whenever you can, you shouldn't really have any issues with this. So just ensure you perform them throughout the game, and yeah. Anyways, next trophy I got was just another story one from completing this operation. And this third operation was just annoying. There really wasn't any major fights, it was just a lot of puzzles and it was very dark, but yeah, I managed to complete and got the trophy right here. And the fourth operation in this list I also then played and finished, and I got the trophy. Nothing major happened and I got 0 other trophies during it, so GG. But the ending did have his boss fight, a giant dragon, so that's actually awesome on second thought. Anyways, yeah, I won and got the trophy. W's, baby. However, in the fifth and second to last operation needed 4 trophies, I did get another combat trophy and another class trophy, if that, from the assault class this time, and hitting 500 enemies total with ground pound. A very good mechanic, but somewhat hard to use well, if you will. It's just a little confusing at first how it works, or how it works good, but again, it's very simple. Just smash 500 total enemies and the trophy will be yours. I then just finished the current operation I was on. Nothing more happened, and you actually just exfil off the planet, so yeah, that's funny, and here's Joy Pop from that. So we are now in the 6th and final operation needed for trophies, collectibles, etc. And during it, I would get 2 trophies. First being from finding all of the data slates, which is that damn collectible trophy I've been grinding the entire game so far. Very annoying to find these things just because the game sort of looks the same everywhere, if you will. But after that, I got the trophy Lightning Strike from another class trophy, this time the Vanguard, and performing 100 gun strikes, which is like a quick time event that does a lot of damage if perfect dodging or perfect parrying happened. Both are pretty simple but grindy trophies. And then I did finish the operation, and also my final operation story trophy from just launching this cannon and causing the aliens to be set back even more with the trophy popping. So then for my next 4 trophies, I just grind out the remaining class trophies I had, and I got some random combat trophy. The first 2 were from the class trophies, being the Bulwark and the Sniper. As the Bulwark, kill 100 enemies with every melee weapon, again, very simple and easy. And then as the Sniper, make 250 headshots on enemies. A little bit harder, but not even the aiming part, it's just the ammo part. The snipers in this game would be insanely OP if they had like 100 rounds, but you only get like 20 or 30, so yeah, that kind of diminishes the fun. Still, very simple trophy though. And then my third trophy was the random combat one for just killing 1000 Chaos Servants in operations. And these are just those heretic enemies from earlier, so after getting 1000 done, the trophy popped like usual. And my fourth and final class trophy was the Heavy from simply getting 500 kills in Heavy Stance. Probably the easiest, to be honest, because it's just straight up kills while aiming in, so yeah, GG's, very simple trophy pop. So after that, I was kind of done with the straight up trophies in operations mode. So I did go over to the multiplayer stage for a little bit, and I tried to get as many trophies as I could. Now, since this game isn't necessarily giant or super popular, the servers are a little bit dead. I did manage to get them all working after a while, but at first the goal was to just do 10 Annihilation matches because that is the TDM mode, so it's like the most popular, if you will. And after finally winning my first of these, which took a few tries, I got the trophy Glorious Victory from winning a match. I then played more, I got kind of good, and I would finally achieve a 5-kill streak without dying. This is far harder than it seems, but eventually you either get lucky or just good enough to do it, and that's what happened here. Now after that, before getting my 10 matches in Annihilation trophy, I actually got the trophy Tactical Genius from winning a match with every class. Now since there is only 6 classes, this isn't really hard, but you do still have to win every time. Shout out to my team for the carry is all I'm gonna say, and here's the trophy pop. I then completed my 10th match literally right after that for the trophy pop as well, and that would be all I do in multiplayer for the time being because I couldn't get any more matches due to low player counts.
No, you're
So I just hop back into operations to grind some XP, kills, etc. for the few grind trophies that I did have to get. And I would end up getting a trophy from just picking up 200 pickups in operations. These are things like healing items, ammo, etc. Very easy and naturally gotten. But then I was back on the Eternal War grind, or multiplayer, and I still needed 2 more trophies in multiplayer. First was the 10 matches in Capture and Control, which is just your standard 3 POI capture game mode. We got ABC, pretty easy. But then I had to do 10 matches in Ground Seas, which is hard point, I think, in COD terms. Again, very easy. Both of these are just completing matches, so if the players are there, you shouldn't have an issue, and I assume once this game goes on monthly, its player count will rise, hopefully, because it's a banger. But after those were completed, I actually just decided to try and do this method to get the 41,000 kills trophy, which is the longest grind and longest trophy in the game, also why it's a 60-hour estimate on the guide. And it turns out this method of just not doing the objective on this bridge during the second operation still works. Literally just load it up on the easiest difficulty, then just don't blow up the bridge once you get there, and alien scum will endlessly swarm you. It does get a little bit harder as you go, and you might die, but overall it's a very, very painless way to get thousands of kills every few minutes, and I would get that 20,000 total kill trophy after a short while, which is just halfway, but you know, still. Now after that, I took a break from playing for a bit, and I would come back and I wouldn't finish up the kills right away, but I would just sort of clean up some trophies. I still needed to beat an operation on Ruthless Threat level, which is the quote-unquote only difficulty trophy in the game. However, it is kind of hard. Thankfully, people feel that difficulty a lot, so I had no trouble finding multiple matches with people better than me who carried, and we got it done. It ended up not being horrible after all, and here's that trophy pop. I then just grinded out more of this difficulty level 4 XP because it gives you a ton, and I do need to get numerous trophies still from leveling things to max. Before that, I got 2 other trophies from forcing a Ravener to release a grab squad member, which is done by just shooting it or attacking it when it does grab your boy, and I actually got this on complete accident. Shout out to my homie for nearly hopping on to boost it. My apologies.
I love you, bitch.
But then I just fully customized my armor, and yeah, easy trophy, so here's that poppin'. And then I did go on a spree, and I got every max level trophy back to back to back. First from the ranged weapon, then from the class, and finally from the melee weapon. And all these should honestly come in hand, because as you play, you should be using everything, and yeah, overall, very simple, just a tad bit grindy. So with those finished, it truly is cleanup stage and platinum. And real fast, I did this random trophy from shooting a lick door before it attacks, and it's done on this one level. Shout out to this video I followed, but you just have to spot its green eye and then shoot it, and it should work without issue. Now after that, I did go and farm out the 41,000 kills trophy because I just wanted to get it done with. Again, just use the method. It took me like an hour to get 20,000 more kills, and yeah, it's an absolutely stupid good method, and here's the trophy popping. GG's aliens. So my last 3 trophies are all just random combat actions, with the first 2 being far easier than the last one, simply from killing a sorcerer when he's reviving. And this is done at this one spot in particular, or at any that you can do if you have to melt a bomb, because you need that. Simply throw it down where he spawns in, and then kill an enemy near him, and once he revives it, just blow up the bomb. Again, shout out to this dude who found that out. You're the GOAT. And secondly, I got a trophy from just parrying this special enemy called the Scarab Oculute Terminator twice perfectly in a row. Again, shout out to bro for this video, but it's very easy to do this, as you would imagine. However, my final trophy called Purge Them All was not so simple. This was the only trophy I sort of messed up while playing, and it's because it requires you to mark every single enemy type in the game at least once as you play. But I didn't start marking or even knowing that you could mark them until the final story mission. So I had to go back through the list and pick out any name that I didn't recognize, and I thought I was missing Imura himself, but it turned out to just be the Hell Brute before this fight that I never marked. And once doing so, the trophy popped, and so did the platinum trophy on Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. An absolute banger of a game, and honestly a perfect representation of what gaming should be. Just kill everything, have fun, fuck aliens, GG baby. But yeah, that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, boys.